Hey, Coach, I hope you're enjoying that. If you are, awesome. Make sure you go subscribe, hit that subscribe button right now. And then also go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. Mentor, resources, hundreds of videos. Go over and check it out. Let's head off to the video. All right, welcome to Coach Unplugged. Coach, can you believe I do this 7 days a week?
I can't believe it. You're amazing.
It's crazy. I was just, before we came on, I think I'm at like 1,300 episodes or something like that. So you can tell I'm a teacher. I like to talk.
Yeah.
Before we jump in, I'm gonna bake all this in. Sometimes I don't bake it in. I want to give a shout out to my two sponsors. First of all, Dr. Dish, the #1 shooting machine on the market. Go over and check them out. Mention Coach Unplugged or me, and you'll get $400 off. And then go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. One-stop shop for basketball coaches. All right. So, and that's leading into kind of how I found how Lee and I kind of connected is he was on, I believe you were on my Facebook group or something. I don't remember exactly how it was. But Lee, I started digging in, and then the scary part is you start Googling people, and it's like, oh, this guy, he lives here. Oh, he does this. And found out that he was this speed and strength specialist, like crazy cool stuff. And so I reached out to him. That's kind of how all this kind of came about. Lee, why don't you introduce yourself and just kind of tell kind of what you do, and then kind of how you ended up doing what we're going to talk about with the kind of the speed specialist kind of thing.
Absolutely. Thank you. First of all, thanks, Coach, for having me on. We get the chance. I'm a big fan of your stuff, and with similar background. We're both, in the teaching field. So I started out in 1989 as a teacher. I was a phys ed teacher. Youngest of 6, my whole family, they all were teachers. My dad was in it for 44 years and coached everything. And so I started out as a teacher right off. I was a football coach, basketball coach, track coach. Did that for a couple of years, and then I went on to my master's. From there, I got into strength and conditioning, which was always a passion of mine and my family. We're always in fitness. But I never let go of basketball and kind of coaching. I was always around that, but over the years, I opened up like 5 different facilities. We called them speed academies because, as you know, it's when people hear speed, it entices them, Right. So from a marketing standpoint, Speed Academy, and we focused on very, very unique type of movement techniques that a lot of people weren't talking about years ago. And so over the years, I went from being a 16-hour-a-day coach and, working with athletes, and I've been a head coach of basketball and many sports for years, to now becoming, I still do some coaching, but a consultant. I travel a lot, work with a lot of professional teams and programs in Europe and different places. And, and then I get the opportunity to share stories with guys like you. So it keeps getting better.
And so what we're here to talk about is the basketball specific. How did that pivot into that?
Yeah. So I played college basketball. I played 4 years, and I was always, even back then, I was enamored with movement. The one thing that caught my mind was, I can remember my college basketball coach yelling at us. We'd be on the end line, and he's having us run or condition, and he'd blow the whistle, and we'd have to go, and then he'd blow the whistle 2 seconds later. He said, "Go back. You guys are all doing it wrong." And I was a captain, and I can remember saying after a couple of times, I said, "Coach, what do you mean we're doing it wrong?" He goes, "Well, you guys keep, taking a false step." I said, "What do you mean?" So, well, I played football, so I was familiar with the term because the football coaches never, allowed that either. But bottom line is, it made me watch film. Even back then, the old projectors, I would watch.
Oh, trust me, I remember those VHS. Yeah, I remember all of them.
Oh, man. Yeah. So I'm watching film, and I'm saying, "Now, wait a minute. Everybody's doing that. Everybody's repositioning." So that just kind of started this journey over, 33, 35 years of I was fascinated with how we actually move compared to how we were being taught to move and told to move. So instinct. So I started studying human development, and the central nervous system. And when, if you shot fake me really quick, well, I don't have time to think of footwork. I just react. My body's going to do things intuitively. So what happened is I started putting names to it. So fast forward to this basketball speed product that you're talking about. What I started doing when I was a head coach in all my programs, my kindergarten all the way up through, we tried to get common language, nomenclature that if I want a particular type of movement, like a snap shuffle is different than a power shuffle based on where we are. And we can communicate that quickly. Like you might say to your players, hey, we're going to dump it in the post. I want you to do a post move. They're like, well, what post move? Well, I want a baseline spin, or I want a face up, or whatever.
Right.
Well, now I can do that defensively. Like I know you're big, Coach, on like when you're breaking a press, you like diagonal cuts, which I do too. Well, if you just say cut, you know how kids are, they're just going to cut anywhere.
Right.
But if you tell them the language from you, your assistants to your players, now everybody's on the same page. No, I want a diagonal cut, not a straight cut. I want a diagonal cut.
And a diagonal cut's impossible to defend. It's impossible to defend. It's impossible.
That's why if the middle's open in football and you run a post route, it's impossible to defend if the safety's out of there, right? Because you cut in front, the defender's behind. And they
don't want to get beat deep because they don't want to give the touchdown out. They don't want to give the layup up. So they always protect deep. That diagonal cut is there. But yeah, so I think what you've done is you've talked about for any part of coaching, doesn't matter if you're coaching soccer, doesn't matter what you're coaching, you need a common dictionary. You need a common set of words or definitions that everyone is using. And I think that's the key, is that I love that that's the point. So I think one of the hardest things is to defend the ball. I think it's what differentiates a D2 player from a D1 player a lot of times, or a D3 from a D2, is usually they're lacking one skill, but usually it's like, I got to be able to defend you if I'm going to play at that level. I just have to stop you. Now, obviously everyone's playing man and help line, all that stuff, but I got to be able to stop you. And if I can't, then I can't play at that level probably. Can you help me improve my ball speed on you, even though you're faster than me? That's the question I have.
Yeah. So if you're an offensive player and you have the ball,
and I'm the defensive player and you're the offensive player, can you help me keep you in front of me? That's the question, because that's what I have guys that can't.
Yeah. One of the areas we have to do is we got to eliminate the fear, because defensively we forget about it. We only think offensive players have fear of getting it stolen. Defensively, they do the same thing. That's why you see them sometimes be passive. We have to understand, if we give them logical steps and say, in this coverage we're in, you have help here, but you cannot get beat in that first 5.5 yards or 3.5 yards, or depending on where the gap is. I have to be able to do it. So now, physically, if I develop over time, and we've done this because all my teams, we pressed, and that's what I worked on my off season. We developed great feet, meaning physical strength in their feet, their ankles, their shins, tibialis, their calves. That's why sprinters are so fast. They have amazing lower legs and they get on and off the ground quicker. We do the same thing with basketball, but we have to have multi-directional movement, right? So we train those things into the athletes so they become faster. I have a daughter right now who's playing college basketball, and my other daughter played as well, but she's out of school now. And we sprint at least twice a week. They do lateral stuff once or twice a week if they're playing. If they're not playing, a couple times a week. So they get faster at it. They get better at it. Their central nervous system develops better coordination of that pattern. Once they have that, now it becomes intelligent techniques, right? So I can't have someone reaching and opening up too much. We got to be intelligent about it. And I can stop you better than I can if I were slower. Great offensive players are always going to find a way at some point. That's when you have team defense. But yes, without a doubt, for years and years, I've been able to do that with a lot of players and make them much quicker. And stance is critical. People go, here's one of the biggest mistakes, Coach. we tell players to get too low. The lower they get, and this is what I want the listeners to understand, the lower they get, the more power they need. Power is slower than elastic energy. So a rubber band is elastic. That's quick. That's John Morant. That's Russell. They're rubber bands, right? The players who get really low, it's harder for them to get through all their joint range of motion because they're just too deep. They got to go too far. So if they're a little bit higher, like Michael Jordan played a little bit higher, but he was just so quick because he was very elastic. So we tell the players what level to play at after I work with them for a while. We can kind of see their sweet spot.
You can see, yeah. And the thing is, the problem is, I think sometimes they close out where they are, not where they're going.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like, great, you closed out, but he was there 2 seconds ago. It's like, that doesn't help us. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, what's the hardest thing to teach?
Well, one of the toughest techniques, you just said it, closing out is one of the toughest because I've seen some of the fastest, quickest athletes get just left in the dirt by players that have tremendous control on their shot fakes, or they're able to shot fake, shimmy, get them shifted, and then they go by them. The problem with a closeout is we need to treat it more like a defensive stopping technique than a hard, choppy, two-hands high technique where the hips get shifted under. Now I'm less athletic because I've lost my biggest muscle to help me decelerate and accelerate. So we teach them kind of more like the NBA does because they have to close out so far. They have to get out and yeah, so they run at them and they turn, they'll turn sideways, almost like a hockey stop, and either that or they'll run them off the shot. But if we go at them and we chop, and we do it too soon, what happens is we start to lose our position, and then they get shots off too easy. So you got to get in close space quick and early. Plus, it helps if you do work early. Move on the pass, get there
right.
earlier.
And then what I tell them is get in that bubble. You want to get in the bubble because that forces them to move. Like,
that's right.
You're right. It's like that choppy thing doesn't work, but they get in their bubble. People who feel uncomfortable, but push them the way you want them to go is what I said. Get into that bubble and push off. I agree. Is there different things at different ages that are difficult?
Yeah, because of strength. The great thing, here's the great thing, if like someone like you who's the not only the head coach, but you're the director of your programs, right? And that's right. So when I was a head coach, I was in charge of everything, and that's the way I wanted it. And I wanted to get the common movement. The great thing with basketball movements and speed, it really doesn't have a bias to age. So you can teach your young kids similar things because it's just like them playing at recess. They go out and they play, right? But what's more difficult is the level of strength. So younger kids, your 7th graders, especially if boys, if they're in a growth spurt, girls, if they're in a growth spurt, they're going to lack some strength and the ability to decelerate under control. So one of the things we do with them is we talk about breaking earlier than later. Don't wait. Don't start breaking earlier. At least they're in front of you, because if you run by them all the time, now not only do you get beat, now you get your post player in foul trouble, right? So we we teach them laterally. They struggle just because of hip quad strength. So we just do basic stuff to teach them the pattern. As they get better at the pattern, central nervous system will override the lack of strength a little bit, and then they ride it out, and then they get better as they get older. But yeah, it's not different from what you would teach, but it's different how you teach it.
Okay, so give me the synopsis of kind of how you break it down, because I'm looking at the course right now, so I know what it is. But kind of what are the steps in terms of, because it's interesting. You even quiz us as we kind of go along. It's kind of funny. I felt like I was back in school. But I mean, what is that kind of those steps as far as how to teach it and stuff?
Yeah. So we basically have several patterns. Okay, there's like, if we want to just talk about several movement patterns, like 7 of them. We have sprinting, which is important in basketball. Get up the court. We have quick acceleration, shorter. We have lateral. and then we have a lateral shuffle. We have a lateral run. Some people call that a crossover. I call
When do
it
you
lateral
lateral
run.
shuffle though? I've heard lateral shuffle's kind of a dead thing. Like you don't really shuffle much in a game anymore. You're supposed to turn
Well,
and run, turn hips and
yeah,
run rather than.
you still do because it's based on what's needed. Again, when you're hedging, you shuffle. You don't laterally
Oh,
run,
that's
right?
true. That's
If
true. Yep.
if the guard that I'm guarding is not at full speed, I do not want to turn and run because now I open an avenue because they can change directions quicker. So I'll shuffle there. So it's still a critical movement. It's just the game from when you and I played is so much faster. They
Oh,
just go so quick, you know.
right. Right.
I mean, plus we had to dribble like Bob Cousy did, so it was different, right?
Well, I bring out I go, we wore shorty shorts, guys. You have no idea. Like I grew up in
That's
the
right.
Licker era. Like, are you kidding me? We had the white tube socks with the colored stripes on it. What are you talking about? Like they have
Exactly.
I tell them there was no 3-point line when I was in high school, and you couldn't dunk in warm-ups. You
I
couldn't dunk.
know.
No, you couldn't dunk in the game. And when I was in high school,
Yeah.
you couldn't dunk in a game. And they go,
Yeah.
"What are you talking about?" I go, "No." Most of the gyms I played in had glass backboards. They go, "No,
Yeah.
yeah, they did. What are you
I
talking
was
about?"
talking I was talking to a coach the other day, and I was saying at one of the gyms we played in, the basket was on the wall. So you'd go in and you'd shoot, and then you'd brace because you were going to hit the wall after your layup.
Okay,
So you got these.
yeah, keep going. Keep going on your. I
Yeah.
didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No. That's good. You got those patterns. You got like retreating. Backpedaling is an underrated and undertaught skill in basketball because it's critical for transition and early recognition without me having to look always over my shoulder. I need to be able to face up. So we teach a specific type of backpedal. And then we have obviously various types of jump. So what we want to do is let's teach the foundation, just like basketball. Teach them how to dribble. Teach them how to do easy
Right.
crossover, right hand, left hand, layup. Skills are the same way, athletically. Give them the basics, and then we can start to say, all right, well now your opponent isn't going to go in one direction always. They're going to change direction, so you have to match that. Here's how we teach change of direction. Here's how I use phrases like stay in the tunnel. Staying in the tunnel means I don't want to rise up or down. I just want to stay level, reposition my feet, and then I'm quicker. So when we break down the skills, what we want to do is build off the general skills, the foundation, the fundamentals, and then we start adding specifics, but we'll give context. As you know this, and being a teacher, context matters to all of us, but especially to kids. Because
Right.
if I can say, see why you got beat, here's how we fix that. Now, oh, okay, now I get it, right? So when you can give them context, now learning occurs even better. So that's a basis of how we want to break it down for them.
And what do you? And I see you have the deceleration. What is that? What are you talking about? Like how you stop? How you 2-footed jump stop? What are you
Yeah,
specifically talking about in that?
absolutely. So we need athletes to be able to decelerate multiple different ways. So if you're guarding me tough and I'm driving hard and I want to put on the brakes really quick, maybe do a step back or maybe just do a drag dribble, go the other way. I need to have the ability to get into my hips, into my quads, and decelerate quickly without loss of balance, right? So we're going to teach them how, just like the 7 patterns of speed, deceleration has fundamentals too. And there's about 7 or 8 patterns we try to teach so that they can jump stop, offset jump stop like a closeout would be. We can stop laterally. We can stop on one leg like Steph Curry does that one-legged. We call it a knee cut because the knee faces forward. A knee cut, and then he goes into a quick jumper. We got backwards deceleration moves. But coach, if these athletes learn how to decelerate, 2 things happen. Number one, performance goes up because they're going to move better. But we also can reduce the potential for injuries, especially on the girls' side, which is about 6-1 to boys when we start talking about knee injuries. So we want to do that for safety as well.
Right. No, I get that. So explain. So let's talk about the course. So is the course geared toward me as the coach, or is it geared toward the player, or is it geared toward both? Who's it?
More,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
it's more of a coaching course But athletes would benefit if they wanted to watch it, but it's more for a coach like you, and really at any level, because it's not difficult stuff. Nothing there is difficult to understand. What it's geared towards is being able to develop the skill set with the language and then how to use it and demonstrate it. So you could easily take it with your program, not just your varsity team, but your program, and say, hey, if we're going to, and maybe you choose 2 skills a week. So you slowly implement it in the off season, and you say, hey, we're going to work this year. We got a, great guard defender. So we're going to drop coverage. Our drop defender needs to waddle rather than backpedal like some of these NBA guys do, which drives me nuts. So we want to have that language. That's what it's for. So it helps you as the coach disseminate that information and have a nomenclature that your staff can use.
No, I think that's great. I mean, that's what I'm going to use. I told you that's what I'm going to use it for. Is that it's going to be small little pieces, especially once we get to the summer. It's like, okay, here's some stuff. These are things that for over the next 6 months that you can do. So the thing is, once you get them into it and they know what, again, the terms are and what they need to do, I think it makes it easier. Exactly. And I love that it's simple enough that you can just kind of watch. I'm more of a visual than a handout kind of. I got to see it because then I can rewatch it. Like, what was I doing the other day? I was fixing something in my daughter's, I was trying to hang something. I found the stud, and then I had to figure out exactly what I needed to put into the drywall. Well, I don't go and read. I don't read the direction. I'd rather see the video. Like, I'm going to YouTube. That's just me. That's the way I learn. I mean, that's just, I need to learn something. I tend to go to YouTube because I want to watch it and see it. It's just easy. That's easier for me. But some people need printouts and that kind of stuff, whatever.
I just yelled to my wife.
Yeah. I will put the link down below in the show notes and stuff. I'm going to put this on YouTube too. So I'll put it down there so they can find it and stuff. We were talking before we came on the air about so let's say I get into day 3 or day 4 and I've got questions, then what happens there? And what happens when I have questions?
Yep. So anytime somebody signs up, they have our contact information. So I've had several coaches reach out to me asking questions, specific questions or general. Some of them want to know, what's the best way to implement it? And I always try to tell them, just like an offense, you're not going to put every single thing in now. You got certain stuff in October, November, and then you're going to plan for January, February, and March, whatever, how long your season is. Same thing with this. Don't put it all in. But let's say I had a coach actually 2 days ago. We jumped on the phone. He said, Coach, I run a 1-3-1. What players? What should I be teaching them? I said, well, it depends on how you run your 1-3-1, but definitely, your wing players have to be massively good at that power lateral run.
Oh, that power lateral. They got to drop fast in that. Yes. And the bottom guy's got to get to the corner. So his is more of a sprint almost than a lateral. He's got to sprint to that corner. Yeah.
Exactly. So exactly. So that person's going to use more of that linear acceleration stuff with really good jump stop, and control. Don't run past the corner person. Your top person, depending on what you do with them, they're going to have the little quick snap shuffle because they don't need to get out of position. They just need to bother that next pass and make that player have to lob that pass. And so it's just really about what you like to do. If you're a hard man-to-man, denial type coach, well, a lot of that stuff is going to have to be taught. And here's the great thing about it. You can be on the bench or your assistants can yell really quick. They can say, hey, Lee, this is a snap shuffle, right? If I'm hedging, snap shuffle, don't lunge, snap and get back, snap and get back.
Right.
So it's very quick, very easy, just like you might tell your offensive player to use a spin move in the post, right?
So what do I need to be able to do everything in it? I need a space, obviously. What else do I need to be able to do this?
The great thing is really you need, if you got some cones, otherwise you have athletes. So when I've implemented with my teams, it's just during practice. I don't use any equipment. Now, if I'm training a specific quality, if I need my athletes to gain a little more strength, we use these little elastic bands that are like $12 you can buy at Walmart now,
Right.
those little
Yep.
looped bands,
Yep.
put them
Yep.
around the
Yep.
waist. And we would practice stuff like that for maybe 90 seconds. Each player can get about 7 to 8 reps in. Sometimes that's all I want. I just want a central nervous system adjustment real quick, and then we get out of it. And so it's very, very simple. So the reason I did it the way I did is because like your 7th grade first year coach can implement it. They don't
Your
need
youth coach, can do it. That's the best part. Yes. Because we all know
Exactly.
it's like, yeah, we all know there's a couple kids that probably could use this probably more than others, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I love that it's accessible. That's what I was thinking when I was watching this too. Is like, shoot, this would have even worked in COVID because they could have gone to a playground and done it outside, and it would have
it
worked.
did. We did it a lot during that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like you needed something special. All right, any parting words for coaches that have listened to this about speed, about maybe some myths about it or some special golden nuggets? I don't know, anything that you would want to share as kind of a parting word?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. So first of all, teaching is about making sure the athletes know it's okay to fail, because failure is that's why we're instructors. That's our job. Let us help you. So make sure that they're okay with that, and that because that's going to help them to be able to establish better learning patterns if they're okay with that. The other thing is just take your time. Don't I'm real big on focusing on 1 to 2 major things a day. That's it. Now there might be variations of that. So if today is a lateral day, we might focus on a couple of those lateral skills, but I want them to leave having a win. So if we can all walk out of practice today with a win, we've learned something, rather than me giving 10 things and the players are like, I know we did a lot, I just can't remember what I did today. No, I don't want that. So keep things very simple. And then some of the myths that I think we've got to be really careful, especially laterally. Lateral is one of the main things. We need to make sure the front side of the body, whether you're doing a shuffle or a lateral run, has to open up. That's an innate characteristics of human beings. If I'm escaping, I'm scared, that front side is going to open, even in the shuffle. And biomechanically, it improves us. So don't let your athletes think they have to keep their feet straight. The front foot will open to help pull. That's going to make them quicker. Just watch any NBA game or watch the college games now. You'll see those defenders open that front side. Too many coaches I see try to close them down. It doesn't work biomechanically, and it's not as quick. So that's one major one.
We're meant to run away from the tiger, so we got to open up and run so the tiger doesn't catch us.
Exactly, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. And
I
always tell them, you don't have to be super fast. You just got to be faster than the next guy. Then you won't.
That's what I always say when we go hiking and stuff. As long as I'm not the slowest person in the group, I'm good, man. I'm good.
There you
All right,
go.
Lee, thank you very much. I will make sure I put for basketball specialists, speedspecialist.com down below. I will put the link down below so everyone can find all of this great stuff. And I appreciate you coming on, Coach. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate you.
Yep. Hey, Coach, so happy you enjoyed the video. Make sure you subscribe and like. Go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better.